All right, Ruthless and Oval fans. Now, I'm actually quite pleased for the positive responses and feedback that I've been getting about the theory video and the Instagram post I did about what if Maud, aka Victoria, sorry, I was about to say Veronica, Victoria's mother, if she would send Gail and Jason to the Rakadouchi compound, or, she did say something about taking them to like a cabin to go fishing and whatnot. So let's just say, what if some of the Raku are kind of recruited for the specific mission of coming to reform the children? So in one way, shape, or form, the theory centers around Maud sending the children into contact with the Rakadouchi in order to convert them, if you will, to no longer be children who want emancipation. Well, technically that's more Gail. Jason is more to get him in, more so to get him in line in regards to not, jacking off in public at dining room tables and restaurants. But in any case, I made it clear in that video that it was not 100% my theory. It actually came from a fan. I just did the video and took, the idea and ran with it. So once again, I haven't heard back from the fan who messaged me about it. So, yeah, but this particular theory, several people were saying the same thing in the comment section on Instagram and on YouTube. Hey, have you ever noticed that? Well, actually, people have been saying this for a while. Have you ever noticed, Jeremy, that River and Jason kind of look alike? I mean, hell, at first I thought it was the same person. Well, for starters, no. These are two different individuals played by different actors. However, to be fair, remember that Ruth and Denise are both portrayed by Melissa L. Williams. So, there's that aspect of it. It would be an interesting theory, though, to have like, oh, what if River is who Jason becomes when he gets older? Let's say that, Maud has the children interact with the Rakadouchi, and that kind of reforms them to become the perfect little children. Now, if you are a kid at heart like me, and you were a 90s baby, then you remember Kids Next Door, the delightful children from down the lane, and how proper and, uppity those kids were. That's essentially what Maud is trying to form Jason and Gail into for however long their parents are in the White House, as well as becoming, productive members of their family. Potentially, when they get older, replace Maud and her husband as the respective rulers of, their, I guess you could say, territory within the 5 families. So this video is a bit elaborate, so just keep that in mind. But before going further, please take a moment to hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post new content to the channel. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Trying to hit 200,000 subscribers before, my birthday on August 29th. And also trying to increase the ratio of how many people who subscribe to the channel actually watch the content. So make sure you hit that bell and select all. So future Jason would actually be one hell of a theory, but you all know how much of a stickler I am for timeline and continuity. The whole Tally thing is just a mess in itself because she should be dead by now. But if it wasn't for timeline, like if Ruthless and the Oval were like 2 different shows, well, they are 2 different shows, but let's just say they're taking place at severely different times, River could actually be Jason for a couple of reasons. Look, I know he's not, because I literally just said we know he's not based off the 2 different actors and the fact that this show is, in the same timeline of the Oval, give or take, behind by like 4 to 8 hours. Remember, when one joins the compound, well, at least we know what the children is like. That I don't know 100% if it's for the, grown men and women too. Like once you join, your name is no longer your name. Like the obvious example is Callie becoming Ruby when she is brought to the compound. So I'm just wondering, like, let's say Jason ages up, he becomes the perfect child that his parents or family wanted. Then he goes to law school, because in episode 14, The Restful Sleep, we see River, kind of teaching the newest recruits to the Rakadouchi. I was in law school. I was searching for true light, but I was fascinated by the teaching of the highest. So I got in my car and drove all the way from Washington State to learn from him. And remember, Ruthless takes place in Virginia, which honestly is one reason why I do love this show. Same with The Oval. It's a different Tyler Perry show in that it doesn't take place in Atlanta, Georgia. So it would be interesting. Let's say Jason gets older, kind of follows in his parents' footsteps. He goes to law school and he feels unfulfilled because when he was a younger teenager, he remembered the ways of the Raku and decided, you know what? When my grandma had my sister and I in the compound or interacting with the Raku, it fascinated me I wasn't fulfilled in my life as a perfect son to my parents. Going to law school, it wasn't me. I felt myself when I was amongst my own kind. Hence why he would go back to the compound and be renamed River. However, once again, that's not the case. And I know I probably wasted 5 minutes of your time, but it is a fun theory to think about, even though time and, continuity wouldn't make it work, but it is fun. So for this particular video, if River and Jason aren't the same person, which they're not, I guess the fun theory would be, are they related? They could be, because I actually had to think about it. I'm like, okay, so we know that Jason and Gail are lighter complexion because Victoria married a white man, Hunter, but her parents didn't like that. However, I had to remember back to one of the earlier episodes of The Oval, I think it was called The Dark Sheep, where it was stated that Victoria was a child of, I believe the correct term is wedlock. Basically, her mother had an affair with a darker complexioned man. Victoria popped out. She was darker, so she was pretty much exiled by her family. So, I forgot, her mother is a light-skinned complexion woman. So it makes sense that Victoria's siblings are lighter complexion than her. So if they got married to most likely non-white men, non-Caucasian men, they probably dated within their race, because remember, Victoria said because she dated a white man, well, actually, if I'm not mistaken, take it a few episodes further, it was stated that the first time Hunter and Victoria had sex, he knocked her up, and then her parents forced her to get married to him. That's what it was. So basically, it's safe to assume that not only are Victoria's siblings a lighter complexion than Victoria, but they also married within their race. So if they have offspring, it isn't unlikely that they would come out with a lighter complexion similar to their mother, Maud. And we don't know what their father looks like yet, but maybe we'll find out in season 2. So with that being said, my theory is, what if River, or whatever the hell his name was prior to coming to the compound, or if River is his real name, River might be Victoria's nephew, and by extension, I believe that would make River, Jason, and Gail cousins, if I'm not mistaken. Look, it's like 4 in the morning, and I'm getting over a slight cold, and I've been, drugged up on NyQuil and DayQuil. So if some of my terminology is wrong, excuse me. I did spend 45 minutes doing research for this video, looking at different clips from the episodes on BET Plus, as well as Googling some of these common terminologies for family members. So once again, if I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments. So just looking at these two characters as a whole, there are a variety of similarities between the two. Both of them have a tendency to lurk or creep around. So I creep, yeah, just creeping around the compound. Gonna see Ruth and Daikon, they won't know. Jason creeps while everyone's asleep. Yeah, he's looking at the top of the White House. Seriously, he knows the ins and outs of everything. I mean, that's what would make the interaction. Well, actually, I'm jumping ahead of myself, because I was about to say the interactions between Jason and River at the compound would be pretty interesting, to say the least. But like I said, let me just go over the similarities between the two. Then I'll move on to the what if of, what if they actually met at the compound? So aside from that, they both have somewhat of a mild obsession. River is just enamored by the teachings of the highest, whereas Jason has a, well, for lack of a better phrase, a hunger for sex that can't really be satisfied. I mean, he's just as perverted as his father, but it seems like he takes it to another level, considering he has killed before. And remember, after what happened to Gene, he's like, I can't believe this happened again. It's like, wait, what? And on top of that, you look at the fact that both are good at blackmail, like in terms of getting information on someone in order to benefit themselves. Jason does it with Gale, like, hey, I got some information, I'll trade you if you give me some information. And then with River, he's been doing that with Ruth and Daikon for the past several episodes. So they pretty much study their prey, so to speak. Like, even when somebody treats them badly, they'll pretty much smile to their face, but they'll get even with you even when you think things are over. Like I said earlier, they know of various ways to escape, pretty much like Jason in terms of the White House. And it's safe to say that he did the same thing in the governor's mansion and when his father was also mayor, I believe. So any kind of political housing that his family was in, Jason probably knew a way to get around it, and security. And then we know of River doing the same thing at the compound. Like, hell, he even snuck up on Ruth in the last episode into the woods and said, yeah, this is the meeting place for everyone who's trying to escape the compound, and I know of who's trying to escape. And I get to go into town on recruitment, so if I wanted to, I could escape, but I don't. So it's pretty much one of those situations where they're both masters of, they're essentially escape artists. That's the best way to put it. And you could argue that Daikon is to River what Max is to Jason. Basically, Max is trying to keep Jason in line, whereas Daikon is just insanely jealous at the highest of giving attention. Basically, River is in the highest favor, which is something Daikon doesn't like. So it's almost like they both have pseudo antagonists. Obviously, Daikon is more of an antagonist to River than Max is an antagonist to Jason. Now, you could also argue that they're both forced into lifestyles that they didn't want. Obviously, from some of the backstories from various members of the compound, we know that some of them, were, working in different fields of business, marketing, what have you. And for whatever reason, they felt unfulfilled in their everyday average lives. But coming across the teachings of the highest, it allowed them to become open-minded and want enlightenment instead of mediocrity. So the fact that River explained how law school wasn't fulfilling and he wanted something more, he was enamored by the teachings of the highest. Now, Jason, I'm going to be honest here, I think he would fit in at the compound very well. Him and Gale, even though I don't think Gale wants to do chores. It's the fact that Jason and Gale were both forced into the life of being in the spotlight by their parent, well, specifically Hunter, in his political aspirations, even though, that's obviously Victoria's parents' influence. So essentially, they've been forced to live lives they don't want to live for, well over a decade. So it makes sense that Jason would want to be part of something where he doesn't feel as constrained, or I guess you could say under constant watch by security and whatnot. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to see Jason on the compound stirring up the pot, getting into trouble. I mean, imagine him just watching what's going on. I will admit, though, even though he's into some kinky stuff, like the whips and chains and everything, I don't know how long he would be allowed in the compound, because imagine him and River both doing things like spying on people, having sex, and I don't know if he would feel good about getting cleansed, though, because Jason to me doesn't seem like he's into men, obviously only into women in unfortunately violent ways. So also look at the fact that he knew about Denise, and to actually see the Denise lookalike, aka her twin sister Ruth, that would bring about all kinds of weird things. I could see Jason creeping on Ruth and possibly trying to reenact sex but with Ruth the same way his father did with Denise. And no, Jason did not kill Denise because he was not at the White House. So I really do feel like it is very possible that River and Jason would actually get along pretty well. And I do think it is possible that they're indeed related in some way, shape, or form. Now, yes, it's not uncommon for Tyler Perry to do this kind of thing where he hires actors on the same show who look very similar, but they aren't related. But sometimes they are, like the haves and the have-nots. The very first time Tony and Benny were on screen together, my mom and I were like, okay, they got to be father and son. Little did we know that, yes, they were father and son in the show. However, they were not father and son in real life. Shocker. Then a more recent example is when it was revealed that, Alyssa would be coming to the haves and the have-nots, Crystal Lee, Naomi, and it was like, oh, I wonder if she's related to Erica. What if she's Erica's sister who she told Candace was killed by Warlock, but she wasn't really dead? Turns out her and Erica knew of each other during their Hoenn days. Not Pokemon Hoenn, but I mean Hoenn as in prostitution. However, they weren't related. They were just friends. Now, also look at the fact that, hang on, I'm trying to think of another example. I'm so sleepy. Let's see. Yeah, that's all I got. But basically, you see where I'm going with this. So, with that being said, what do you think? Do you think that Jason and River are related? Do you think that they'll ever interact with each other in some sort of oval Ruthless crossover? Like maybe River is on recruitment, or Jason, like I said, is brought to the compound. I mean, given River's talent for recruitment, manipulation, and drawing people in, you would think that maybe Maud would hire him to come get the children in order. So that would be pretty interesting. I'm just saying. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This is a pretty interesting topic, and if there are any other like oval or Rufus crossover ideas you would like me to explore, feel free to let me know. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month.